First, the top stories. President Bola Tinubu pledges Akwa Ibom State Police Command naps drug dealers. Federal government orders immediate retirement of long-standing directors in Health Ministry. And on the foreign scene, United Hara and 16 territories. In sports, National Sports Commission moves to block Favour Phillies nationality switch to Turkey. We have details of these and other stories coming up in a moment. I am NYAKNNO, Albert. And now the news in full. Beginning from the presidency, President Bola Tinubu has said that his administration will continue ongoing economic reforms to deliver prosperity and inclusive growth to Nigerians. In an official statement issued yesterday by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Nanuga, President Tinubu stated this during a one-day official visit to Adamawa State. Tinubu stated the reforms were yielding results nationwide with noticeable improvement in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. The President also identified the repositioning of the economy through right policies that enable greater allocations to states for projects that impact livelihoods and commended the Adamawa State Governor Amadu Fintri for utilizing Federation allocations for roads and educational infrastructure. Back home, Akwa Ibom State Police Command has confirmed a crackdown on dealers of Indian hemp and other illicit substances across the state due to intensified intelligence efforts that led to the multiple arrests and the recovery of significant quantities of suspected prohibited drugs during organized raids in various identified flashpoints. An official statement issued yesterday by the Police Public Relations Officer DSP Tim Von John indicated that the operations, which were strategically planned and simultaneously executed in known criminal hideouts, followed an actionable intelligence that has presently left several suspects in custody and will be charged to court upon the conclusion of ongoing investigations. The statement further revealed that the Commissioner of Police CP Baba Zare has directed a fight against drug trafficking and distribution with a firm warning that the command will not stand by youths that have been lured into addiction, criminality, and social delay. While noting that Akwa Ibom State is no longer a safe operating ground for drug barons and peddlers, the command calls on parents, traditional institutions, youth leaders, and all community stakeholders to partner with the police by providing credible and timely information to fast-track the fight against drugs trafficking in the state. On the national scene now, the Federal Ministry of Health has ordered an immediate disengagement of directors who have spent not less than 8 years in the Directorate Kadar with immediate effect. The directors affected include those in the ministry, federal hospitals, agencies, among others, according to a memo in circulation in Abuja earlier today. The federal government, which directed all ministries, departments, and agencies to enforce the 8-year tenure limit for directors and permanent secretaries, followed a new deadline set through the office of the head of civil service of the Federation. The memo, which announced the enforcement of the order signed by the director overseeing the office of the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Health, Tetoma Dafeta, provided the revised public service rules PSR 20 attached on all affected officers who have spent 8 years as directors in a letter that was effective since 31st December 2025. According to section 020909 of the revised PSR, the tenure limit for permanent secretaries is 4 years, with a possible renewal based only on satisfactory performance, and the rules also stipulate that a director at grade level 17 or their equivalent shall compulsorily retire after 8 years in that position. To legislative matters now, emerging reports have indicated that there is a possibility that the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and the National Assembly would move the 2027 presidential election to January 16, 2027, in a dramatic reversal of the earlier February 2027 date. Similarly, there are indications of the governorship elections rescheduled to January 30, 2027, in a development that is happening few hours after the Senate and House of Representatives suspended the planned harmonization of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill to focus on an emergency plenary session to be convened today, where the new dates are expected to top deliberations. A ranking senator also corroborated the development, though he cautioned that the proposal was still subject to debate on the floor. The shift marks a significant turning point in the evolving electoral calendar for 2027 and underscores the mounting political, religious, and logistical pressures surrounding the country's next general elections. INEC had initially fixed Saturday, February 20, 2027 for the presidential and National Assembly elections, with governorship and state houses of assembly 7, but the February 20 date drew sharp criticism from Muslim groups and political stakeholders who argued that it coincided with the holy month of Ramadan, projected to run from February 7 to March 8, 2027. In another development, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has detained former Kaduna State Governor Malam Nasir El-Rufai over allegations of financial misconduct that involves 432 billion naira. This came as the federal government yesterday filed a 3-count charge against Malam El-Rufai, alleging that he unlawfully intercepted the phone communication of the National Security Advisor (NSA) Nuhu Ribadu. El-Rufai is under investigation over loans obtained during his administration, which a Kaduna State House of Assembly ad hoc committee alleged were mismanaged or used without due process, a claim he has denied, insisting they are politically motivated. It was alleged that El-Rufai, who was the governor between 2015 and 2023, and also Minister of the Federal Capital Territory Abuja under former President Olusegun Obasanjo's administration, committed a crime that has left many people currently on the run. Meanwhile, no date has been fixed for him to be arraigned in court to enter his plea to the charges leveled against him. And talking about health now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention (NCDC) has called for heightened compliance with infection prevention and control (IPC) measures following a disturbing rise in Lassa fever infections among medical personnel. In a public health advisory released at the peak of the 2025-2026 Lassa fever transmission season, the NCDC confirmed that 15 healthcare workers tested positive for Lassa fever, with 2 fatalities recorded as of epidemiological week 7. The center expressed deep sympathy over the recent infections and deaths, describing the trend as deeply concerning and avoidable, with strict adherence to standard precautions. According to the NCDC, investigations into each healthcare worker's infection revealed troubling gaps in infection prevention and control practices, with the agency identifying a low index of suspicion among healthcare workers on inconsistent availability and improper use of personal protective equipment (PPE) and underestimation of risk in outpatient departments and general wards as major drivers of infections. The advisory also noted that non-clinical members of staff, including cleaners, porters, and administrative officers, are equally at risk and must be included in IPC training and protective measures, with notions that standard precautions is meant to be applied to all patients, regardless of diagnosis. Global News on Memories 96.5 FM. We'll bring you more reports after the break. Do stay with us.
Stay up to date with all the latest in news, sports,
Thank you for staying tuned to Global News on Memories 96.5 FM. And now to the rest of the news. On the foreign scene, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for the complete decolonization of Western Sahara and 16 other territories still under colonial rule. Guterres made an attestation of his commitment to completing unfinished businesses of ending colonial rule more than 60 years after the United Nations launched its formal decolonization drive. Opening the 2026 session of the Special Committee on Decolonization yesterday, the Secretary General stressed that decolonization had been a core objective of the UN since its earliest days. According to him, the legacy of colonialism has left profound scars through deeply rooted mechanisms of economic exploitation, as well as a form of racism, inequality, and persistent exclusion from decision-making bodies. The C24 was established by the General Assembly in 1961 to monitor progress towards granting independence to territories that have not yet fully attained a measure of self-government as defined under Chapter 11 of the United Nations Charter, a mandate which stemmed from the landmark 1960 Declaration on the granting of independence to colonial countries and peoples. And still on the foreign scene, the former United States Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, has accused President Donald Trump's administration of a cover-up over its handling of files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, noting that millions of new files relating to Epstein were made public by the U.S. Department of Justice earlier this month after Congress passed a law requiring the agency to release material related to investigations of Epstein. The Department of Justice (DOJ) has now said it has released all of the files required by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, but lawmakers have argued the release is insufficient. Kentucky Republican Representative Thomas Massey, who co-wrote the law, called for the DOJ to also release internal memos outlining past decisions on whether to charge Epstein and his associates. It could be recalled that Epstein died in a New York prison cell on the 10th of August 2019 as he awaited, without a chance of bail, a trial on sex trafficking charges, and this has become more than a decade after his conviction for soliciting prostitution from a minor, for which he was registered as a sex offender. And talking sports now, the National Sports Commission (NSC) may have commenced moves to block United States-based sprinter Favour Ofili from achieving her dream of competing for Turkey. The move to stop Ofili's nationality switch is coming just as Nigerian sprint legend Mary Onyali revealed how she turned down offers to represent 4 other countries during her career. Ofili, who is widely regarded as one of the finest sprint talents of her generation, announced last year that she was switching allegiance to Turkey in a move which came as a huge blow to Nigerian athletics. Reports indicate that a top official of the NSC without a revealed identity made it known that Ofili remains a Nigerian athlete who was paid training grants by the NSC last year, and it's not possible for her to switch allegiance to Turkey, insisting that if she wants to compete for another country, she will have to wait until September 2028. Favour Ofili is the only Nigerian woman to run under 22 seconds in the 200 meters category, holding the national record with a lifetime best of 21.96 seconds. That's global news on Memories 96.5 FM. But before we go, let's take a recap of the top stories. President Bola Tinubu has said that his administration will continue ongoing economic reforms to deliver prosperity and inclusive growth to Nigerians. The Akwa Ibom State Police Command has confirmed a crackdown on dealers of Indian hemp and other illicit substances across the state due to intensified intelligence-driven efforts that led to the multiple arrests and the recovery of significant quantities of suspected prohibited drugs during organized raids in various identified flashpoints. We also told you that the Federal Ministry of Health has ordered an immediate disengagement of directors who have spent not less than 8 years in the Directorate Kadar. On the foreign scene, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for the complete decolonization of Western Sahara and 16 other territories still under colonial rule. And in sports, the National Sports Commission may have commenced moves to block United States-based sprinter Favour Ofili from achieving her dream of competing for Turkey. The news this afternoon was edited by Mary Akpan and and assisted by the production team. For views regarding our news or coverage of your newsworthy events, you can reach us on email newsroom@memoriesmediang.com or call our Newsroom hotline on 0909 000 0581. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Memories965FM and listen to us from anywhere in the world on Radio Garden at Memories 96.5 FM. Log on to our website at www.memoriesmediang.com. And now let's take you down memory lane. On this day in 2008, Kosovo declared its independence from Serbia. That's the news. Thank you for listening. I am NYAKNNO Albert. Good afternoon.
96.5 FM. Approximately 1.3 million people die and 50 million sustain injuries every year from road traffic accident. So before you cross, look left, look right, and then look left again. Double check before you cross the road. This message is brought to you by Memories 96.5 FM.
You're listening to Memories 96.5